I know.
No, I
We're
wasn't. I
going
was too
live.
baby of an astronomer at that point.
They wouldn't let you vote yet?
I wasn't even allowed to be a member yet. I
You weren't
wasn't
even allowed to
there.
vote in your country yet.
Well, that I was allowed, but I will admit I was actually on my wedding honeymoon during that
Oh, really?
particular IAU. Yeah,
We are live, by the way.
that's fine. The world can know that.
Yeah, that you were on your honeymoon when Pluto got deplaneted.
Yes.
We are totally bringing that up in the show. It's it's so cold in my house, not
Yeah.
larger metaphysically speaking.
Did you see the ever so hilarious news yesterday that Patagonia is no longer going to allow corporate purchases from finance
Yeah, I
companies?
saw that. That's so funny. Yeah, all those people with their Patagonia vests with their logos on it. Yeah, sorry guys. Buy them one at a time. I'm sure Columbia would be glad to sell them. People always give me a hard time when I wear my Columbia jacket because one, like they wonder if I'm like shilling. I should like just mark it out. I should put like a piece of black tape right over Columbia.
I'm
You got
wearing
an
my impossible to pronounce, like,
Arcteryx.
yeah, that company.
I
And there's
think
actually,
are they a
I
Canadian
can't,
company?
I don't know, but hold on, let me show you something hilarious. So I try and buy things from the gift shops of museums I go to just to help support the museum. And this is a plushie
Is it
of a baby I can't say it. The word you just said.
Arcteryx?
Yes. This is what the babies are considered to have looked like, except it would have been feathers instead of fur. They just don't make
Oh, that's
feathers.
amazing. Yeah,
And
so it
this
is a
is one of
Canadian
my
company. It's from the mainland. So it's from Vancouver. So that's why we we was mentioning in where was I? Skylius's channel. We were talking about how she wanted to know if we did any cables when we were in ziplining when we were in Costa Rica, and I said like
yeah.
I that's how we get around in Canada, so I didn't bother, And the other thing is we're all wearing Arcteryx when we zip line around here in Canada. So they're everywhere. It's everywhere. It's just like it rains Arcteryx gear all the time.
That is
Yeah.
fabulous.
So hello to Andy Cowley, Arnold Post, Ben Kalo, Bill Sugden, Bort Clankar, Chai Latte Nebula, Coy Wagoner. Shouldn't it be Corey Wagoner? Anyway, Don Simmons, Eric Schneider, Guido Bibra, Harry M, Helg Bjorkog, John Seffield, Kevin N, Kira H, Larry Beckham, Michael Bommet, Nancy Graziano, Paul Gracie, Tad Awesome. That's an awesome name. Tad Awesome. Tech Tang, Thomas Stranaker, TJ Lipinski, Uncle Bill Druin, Wayne Johnson, and Zap Van Zaffen. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 525th episode of Astronomy Cast. If you're wondering what it is that you have stumbled blindly into, you just saw the live now and you clicked it, and now you're with us. We are going to do a live episode of Astronomy Cast, the 525th. Then we will stick around and we will either answer your questions about space and astronomy or rant.
It's true.
Yeah.
I really want to know what this episode looks like as a Roman numeral because I suspect it's a pretty awesome looking Roman
525?
numeral. Yeah.
So what would it be? C?
It is DXXV.
DXXV.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
I'm amused by stupid things, and that's one of the ones that amuses me, apparently.
By Roman numerals?
Mm-hmm.
I loved learning Roman numerals in elementary school. It was so great. It's so dumb. So useless, right? Because we've already got a method of reading numerals. I mean, sure, yeah, you could come across some ancient Roman aqueduct, and
Or
want.
Super Bowl. This is the only
Well, yeah,
reason
but
I
that's
ever
just people
knew.
using a different number to seem fancy.
And the stupid numbers that they put for the copyrights on movies. The only way you can
Yeah,
figure out when a movie was
yeah,
produced
yeah. That's
for
just
a
being
long time.
that's being purposefully obtuse,
Yes.
and it is not amenable to me. I do not appreciate it. Don't make me have to think for a second extra about just the number you're trying to communicate to me. And I can't even do like math on it. I can't line up the numbers and add them and subtract them and multiply them. No, thank you. No, those people should not be doing that. I don't like it.
It's true.
Yeah, but of course, if you do run across a Roman amphitheater and you want to know which seating plan you're going to be using, and it was built 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, it's fine. I'm translating in my head. It's fine. They didn't know any better. They didn't know that zero would be useful, that numbers would be, digits would be great. Kira H is morning Google Plus. Me too.
And Google Inbox. Oh dear God,
Yeah,
I'm
I
never
know.
going to have control of my inbox
I know,
again.
yeah. But don't you get this where people are like, "Oh, Google Plus, I hated it. It was stupid. I never liked it." I'm like, I don't think you
It doesn't
realize that
matter.
that all of the space friends right now that you are watching, we all came together on Google Plus. That a lot of the science community in its current state right now has its roots back to Google Plus. It was like a perfect place where
Yeah.
we could all befriend one another and get and it was sort of, it didn't have the venom and nastiness that other social networks
Yeah.
did. It was like a nice positive place. And yeah, you had to circle a person as opposed to follow a person. And you know what I mean? And obviously Google made all kinds of mistakes in implementing it, but at the end of the day, the friendships that we made there were wonderful. And now everyone's scattered to the four corners of the world, and we will never see them again.
And the other part of that is, if somebody else loves something that isn't your thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's okay. We're
Yeah, I
all
know.
allowed to like different things. And if I am personally choosing to mourn the loss of Google Plus and Inbox by Google,
Yeah.
your response should not be F you, why weren't you using
Yeah.
some other
Yeah.
email app?
Your your opinions are wrong.
Yeah.
It's funny. I got in my latest question show, someone uh, commented that they don't like the live streams that I do, and they're like, "Why do you do these live streams? Don't do the live streams. They're terrible." And so I just like deadpan looked in the camera and said, "They're not for you."
Yeah. And
That's
that's
it.
fine.
That's it. Like last I checked, watching shows that I make is a purely volunteer activity. Nobody is marching you out at gunpoint and telling you that if you don't watch this show, it's curtains. No, no, do what
All
you
the way
want.
back in 2006, you did something that has like stayed with me forever because it was so not something I would have done. And I needed to see you were the role model I needed one day,
What was
where
that?
we got this email into Astronomy Cast that was best described as an asshole email from someone demanding that you get rid of me because I was terrible and replace me with them.
Right.
And it had this whole, and it was bad. And I'm sitting there like contemplating how to apologize to this person.
For being yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while I'm staring at my screen, the response from you comes in, and it was quite simple. It was like, "Dear so and so, I'm sorry that you don't like our show. However, we offer this for free. Please do not use our bandwidth. Here are other shows." And you recommended other shows for them.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, get off our bandwidth
Yeah.
and go
It's
watch
not for you.
something else.
This is not for you. This thing that we make, not for you. It's for other people, but not you.
And this idea that we don't have to apologize for what we create,
Yeah.
I needed that, and I think lots of people need that. So thank you for being the
No
role model
problem.
I needed.
No problem. I actually got that from Seth Godin.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if he has sort of this idea that people like us do things like this, and but one of the things that he says is shun the non-believers, right?
That's
Which
cool.
which
Yeah.
which is a sort of great way to just say, hey, not for you. There's
Yeah.
the people over here, and we love to hear what Pamela has to say, and the inflection of her voice, and the depth of knowledge, and her cheery attitude, and the interesting topics that we're going to go into. And if that's not your thing, man, then feel free to enjoy the rest of the internet.
The
It's
cheery attitude that embraces death from the skies.
well, yeah. Her nascent death cult. Yes, yeah. That's the other part that we of course appreciate. Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna do an episode of Astronomy Cast. So tell me
And
when you're ready.
I'm just realizing that this is the kind of thing where I should deal with the precariousness of a pop filter. I so totally need. I'm missing a washer, and to compensate for the missing washer in my mic stand, there's all sorts of insanity. Like there's a hair clip involved right now.
There's a hair clip involved in your mic stand, or
Yeah,
okay,
this right here is actually like one of those old lady ponytail claw things, and it is what is balancing my microphone at the moment.
good luck. I can see like some kind of like camo squid coloration,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
it's
Okay.
blue camo essentially. I have no clue who left it behind in my house at some point, but it has been incorporated into my microphone stand.
Nice. You might want to seek a washer.
It's on the list.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I am ready to
You ready to press record?
record. Uh, yes.
I have also pressed record.
I got an error.
Oh.
Why did I get an
I'm going to stop.
error? Your
pressing record.
audacity. Why are you so full of hate?
Has one job.
It does. Okay, I've pressed record again.
I have also pressed record. And it's working this time?
Yes. Okay.
I shall begin. Astronomy Cast, episode 525, 100 years of the International Astronomical Union. Welcome to Astronomy Cast, our weekly facts-based journey through the cosmos, where we help you understand not only what we know, but how we know what we know. I'm Fraser Cain, publisher of Universe Today. With me, as always, Dr. Pamela, a senior scientist for the Planetary Science Institute and the director of CosmoQuest. Hey, Pamela, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well, also.
Did you survive all the excitement yesterday?
Yeah, it was a great day. For people who don't know what we're talking about, literally everything happened yesterday. Rockets were launched, lunar orbits were arrived at.
An
An
asteroid,
asteroid
was
was hit with an anti-tank weapon, which was great. What a great use for anti-tank weaponry. Take that,
yes,
asteroid.
more of that, please.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, solar system, there's more of that coming. So you just stay in line. So yeah, no, it was a great day, and now other stuff too. I just saw that they've put down a date for the next Falcon Heavy launch. It's going to be soon, like within the week. So it's gonna be a crazy week. Actually, I'm utterly overwhelmed right now. People may have noticed I haven't sent my newsletter out yet because I just am so busy. But it's almost ready. It'll go out in another like couple hours.
I was at my keyboard for 16 hours yesterday as Annie Wilson
Oh,
and I took turns live streaming all of the events on Twitch.
oh,
It was
fantastic!
absolutely
Yeah,
amazing. And I have to brag a little bit. So I love so much working once again at a like rock solid we do science organization. I haven't done that since I worked at Harvard. I've been at places that focused on communications and education and undergraduate education, and I'm back. And so there was a quiet little, does anyone know how to do this thing and stuff at the command line to fix the formatting of a whole bunch of files? And I was like, yeah, you just need to write software to do foodity foo. And the person who was working on Hayabusa and they needed to convert a whole bunch of files was like, help. And so last night in real time, while everything was happening, I got to help by just writing a stupid little snippet of code. But
for people at Hayabusa.
yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was. I got to make a science, people. I got to make a
so
science.
Great. So you're saying like thanks to the Planetary Science Institute for giving you a home that you get to do science on an occasional basis. Yeah, that's amazing.
And more to the point, I get to science with a whole bunch of other people instead of being like the person over here making science while everyone else is doing other things. It's awesome.
Here we go. Even though they might be scattered around our planet, astronomers have a way to come together to work out the issues that face their entire field of study. It's called the International Astronomical Union, and they're the ones who work out the new names for stars and sometimes deplanet beloved Kuiper Belt objects. Oh man, people have that love-hate relationship with the IAU, which is the International Astronomical Union. Where do you want to start? 100 years. So when is their 100th birthday?
Well, it was formed in 2019, and one of the ironies that I ran
2019
up
is the year we're in
across.
right now, so it doesn't feel right that that's the right
Sorry,
date.
Fubard, Fubard. It was formed in April of 1919, but I haven't been able to find an exact date.
So
But
April.
here we are.
Yeah.
It's April of
Close
2019.
enough.
The organization is now 100 years old, and it seemed time to talk about this organization that everyone seems to have a strong opinion about, and they either love it or they hate it,
Hey,
and sometimes both
I am
simultaneously.
utterly ambivalent.
Okay.
So I think I can really bring, all I know is my gut says maybe.
And for full disclosure, I am a officer within the IAU, and I've also served as the editor in chief for their conference newspaper.
All right. So, so what is the IAU?
So the IAU is the governing body for astronomy internationally. They are the folks that write up the policies on how you name things, whether it be craters on a planet, moons orbiting a world, worlds orbiting other stars, stars themselves. They are the folks that work to define when we are by defining time itself. They work with the United Nations to help define World Heritage sites that have either dark skies aspects to them or are part of astronomical World Heritage. And more than that, they're an organization that spends roughly half of their budget to try and use astronomy to develop our world.
So now you mentioned a couple of things that they do. Of course, the naming and the nomenclatures and the general namery. But that's just one small piece of
Yeah.
what they do, right? But we can go into the naming machine at some point. So names, how do they generally push, I guess, the field of astronomy across the world?
Well, in general, the International Astronomical Union is committees all the way down. There are working groups that are part of commissions, that are part of divisions. And the idea is to basically have a pyramid scheme of distributing the work out so that we can bring everyone together effectively in a ideally diverse environment to deal with all the different problems faced within our field. And this was actually part of its core. When the IAU first formed back in 1919, the motivation was the top elite astronomers around the world had, for, they actually say in their history, centuries been sending letters back and forth to one another, collaborating, had been gathering whenever they could in various cities, generally across Europe. But there was no professional organization that really was in use to set down guiding ideas. We had somehow, as a planet, settled down on Greenwich, England, as the 0 point, but that was mostly a political world domination kind of thing.
Yeah.
They wanted to have more of a scientific organizing body. And the key problems that they were looking at was how, or key problems were, how do we define coordinate systems? How do we define time, which is part of coordinate systems? And how do we name all the stuff and things, both by classifying them? So, how do you classify an asteroid? How do you define a planet? What is a Kuiper Belt object? And then what do you name them individually? So, is that world going to be called George, or is it going to be called Uranus?
Except that decision was made before the IAU was a thing.
It's true.
Right.
It
But
is
those
true.
kinds of decisions.
And this is where it comes down to, uh, when are we? They actually are one of the organizing groups that figures out when we need to add leap seconds to our time, and that's kind of awesome.
That's cool. And that comes from the Astronomical Union? I
It,
didn't
it,
know that.
it comes in collaboration, so there's
I thought it was like
there's
a World
multi,
Time Association.
which is working with the
Right.
IAU.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So then, now what was the last meeting of the IAU?
It was last August. It was the Vienna meeting in 2018. And among the things that came up was the fact that, yes, this is the 100th anniversary. And while we were at the meeting, and we talked about this earlier in an Astronomy Cast episode, we took on things like, uh, is it just the Hubble law, or is it
Right.
the Hubble Le Matrier law? And I know I'm mispronouncing French, and so many apologies.
Maître.
Yes.
Oh
Uh,
no, the maître was the one. Yeah.
and
Le maître.
beyond that, we also redefined some coordinate systems. And there was, of course, a look at what are upcoming international initiatives that needed to be worked on. And the decision was made that joining the suite of, we have language centers around the world that are working to translate astronomical texts into multiple languages. We have the Office of Astronomy for Development in South Africa, the Office of Astronomy Outreach in Japan. We are going to be competing and selecting a office for astronomy education, recognizing that, hey, space is a great way to get people addicted to science.
And that was the one that was in Vienna. And the previous one, so they happen every 4 years?
They're every 3 years.
Every
It's a
3 years.
triennium.
Right.
And so this one was in, uh, as I said, it was in Vienna. The prior one was in Hawaii.
Yep.
Prior to that, it was China. Prior to that was Brazil. Prior to that was Poland.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
The one in Poland. So you missed the one in Poland. And that,
Yes.
of course, was the one 1990. Sorry,
No. 2006.
2006 when Pluto lost its planethood.
But I had a really good excuse for not being there.
Right.
I was kind of on my honeymoon, and my husband does sometimes actually take precedence over astronomy conferences. Although I have
Yeah.
missed many of our anniversaries to attend subsequent IAU
Right.
meetings.
Right. He's cool with it. So right. Okay. So that was one obviously very controversial. We've done multiple episodes on how it went down, the fallout, the ongoing attempts to air grievances and to heal the deep wounds between the Plutoids and the non-Plutoids, the planets and the non-planets. Someday, Alan Stern and Mike Brown will reach some kind of agreement
No.
and be able to just hug it out. I mean, I can't wait for that day. But until then, the point is that there are all new objects being discovered. We are pushing the boundaries of what we know about the universe and about the solar system every year. New discoveries are coming down the road, and there needs to be a way to digest this information, to disseminate it across the world to all the astronomers that are working on it, and new ways of working together. So it's like the glue, the international,
Clearinghouse of ideas.
yeah, but like standards. ways to be able
Yes.
to minimize the amount of pre-negotiation to go, all right, so what is this thing? What systems do we have to use? What time codes should we use to communicate this thing? How many seconds are there in a year? A way to come to agree on those things. Um, so,
And this goes so much beyond just astronomers. The International Astronomical Union is, they wouldn't use this phrase, but I think the best analogy is it's a lobbying organization in terms of there are international agreements on what parts of the electromagnetic spectrum thou shalt not use for commercial purposes because we need to use them for science. And it is the IAU that is in many ways working to push those international treaties forward. It is the IAU that is a starting place for finding all your new best friends that you're going to build a multinational telescope with. And by having someplace that can serve this international motivation, I it it helps in a lot of ways to make the world a little bit smaller. Now, of course, there are what feels like never ending conflict between IAU and, for instance, NASA, where each organization is like, I shall be the final authority, and neither of them can settle with the other exactly how to do things. Um, it is though a organization that played a major role after World War II in helping to figure out how do we restart science around the world.
so what are some examples? I mean, we've talked about the classification. So, like, how does it all come together? Like, say there's going to be, I don't know where the next IAU meeting is going to be. How do,
South Africa.
in South Africa? Okay, so how do,
No, sorry. The next one's Korea and then South
and then South
Africa.
Africa. Okay, so
Yeah.
Korea in what, 2021? 20,
Yes.
okay.
And then 2024 is Cape Town, South
So
Africa.
who and how do they define the agenda for what big decisions are going to be made at the IAU?
It's works very hard to be a democratic organization. Each nation that belongs to it has a vote, and as individual dues paying members, and there are members that
Whoop. Did we lose her? I think we just lost Pamela. I guess we'll just, I'm just going to keep the recording going. Susie, you're going to have to cut this out at around the 15:30 mark. And hopefully Pamela wasn't taken out by a tornado, which can sometimes happen there. But I do need some confirmation that I still exist. So I don't know if people can still see this at all. She just dropped out of the meeting. That's the craziest thing. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Her power went out? Like, normally they, like, stall for a second there. Ben Kayla says, when are we going to see the Event Horizon image? Oh, you are trolling me, aren't you? Uh, April 10th, Ben. We're all going to see that picture together. It's going to happen for all of us at the same time. So, yeah, the Event Horizon Telescope has been announced. There's going to be a bunch of live streams. A bunch of people are going to be making their announcements, and then we'll get to see that picture. I haven't seen it, but I do have some friends who are, in the astronomical community, and the embargoed press releases are going out. So I think other people have seen it, but as you probably know, I don't look at embargoes, so I haven't seen it. So I will see it the moment it goes live with the rest of you. James Dugan is noting that a mission to Triton was announced this week. I don't think that's exactly what has happened. So at a meeting, someone proposed a mission to Triton. I think we actually have a story up on Universe Today about that. So, like a low-cost Triton mission to get there quickly and inexpensively, and so that's still it's in the here's a cool idea for a mission phase, not the here's what we've decided we're going to be doing phase. Susie, I think, is talking to Pamela right now, so I think we can assume that she's going to try and come back if she still has internet. If not, we're going to have to do this episode another time. Kevin Hen says, "Did the IAU vote her out?" Yeah. How do you like it now, Pamela? This is what it feels like when an international team of people decide you're not a member of Astronomy Cast. Electricity fail. There she is. Coming back. Electricity flail. Okay. Tentacle from the event horizon reached out and scooped up Pamela. Did you pop a breaker in the house or something? She looks confused. She looks...
I look displeased.
Yeah?
I heard a squirrel thump into my bird feeder and then my power went out.
In the whole house?
I guess so. I didn't check the rest of the house. Wow. It is back now. I'm sure the two things were completely unrelated. I did not lose any audio. I'm going to save the file.
Don't stop it. Don't stop it. I've just been recording. Are you still recording?
No. I have the recovered audio.
Okay. All right.
Power down.
All right.
Powered back up. I'm saving this.
Okay. You know what? I'm just going to keep recording, and then
sorry, Susie.
You can give Susie 2 chunks, and then she can doctor it together.
Okay. So this is 525A.
John Drake, did they fire that anti-tank weapon at Hayabusa? They did.
They did. It was awesome. There were photos. Or at least there's photos of the ejecting.
People's wondering about why Eris was originally called Xena. Yeah, Mike Brown was a fan of the TV show Xena.
Xena and Gabrielle.
Xena and Gabrielle. And so originally the planet, or the dwarf planet and moon, were called Xena and Gabrielle, and they got changed to Eris and Dysnomia, I believe.
I think so. Yeah. It was just something.
Dysnomia, I think. God of Chaos, and like they go along. They actually go along quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike Brown has done a pretty good job naming things, embracing deities from all around the world in interesting themes.
Yeah, some of his names are sticking. So
yeah,
he does a pretty good job of coming up with a great name that people are going to want to keep using. Like, I think, what's it? Humea?
Yeah, Humea is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And I'm back up and ready to start whenever you are, but I have no
recording.
idea what I was saying when the power went away.
Yeah. I was asking how we sort of get into, like, how the process comes together.
Right.
And so I'd asked, like, how does this work? And then you were about to talk about how people propose ideas, or they pull them out of a hat. I don't know what they do. So let's go back to there. So
okay. I'm
so Susie,
record.
here we are, 21:20, and now Pamela's going to answer my question again.
So it turns out that the IAU is a fairly democratic organization. You have every nation that is a dues-paying member has a vote. There are essentially nations in waiting, nations that don't quite have enough astronomers, that don't quite have enough budget to be full members. And then there are also members at large. And each nation also can have members. And once you become a member of the IAU, it is your nation, not you as an individual, that pays your dues, and you're in for life. So I'm a member of the IAU representing the United States of America for the rest of my life, even when I emigrate to Canada, which will happen someday.
But it's not just you, right? There's many Americans who represent the U.S. in the IAU.
It's true. Yeah. We are one of the largest nations.
Right. So how many people are in the IAU? We'll go back to my question in a second, but you know me, I'm squirrel.
So I don't have the numbers in front of me, so let me pull those up. I'm sorry, Susie. Statistics. That's what I want. I'm so sorry, Susie. Pulling up the statistics, pulling up the statistics. So the International Astronomical Union looks to bring in the world's population of professional astronomers. And at this point, they have nearly 14,000
Right.
members. It is a large organization. But when you think about those numbers, there are more software developers working for some companies than there are professional astronomers in the IAU
Right.
representing the world.
Okay, so you, as a representative of the IAU, like many of the representatives of the IAU, do what to get a motion passed, seconded, carried? How does this work?
If I have some great new idea that I want to propose to change something in astronomy, the first step is to put together essentially a bill, a proclamation, and get it co-signed by a bunch of other people within the organization, get it supported by commissions, divisions. This is that idea that you have a working group of people working to solve problems. Working groups are parts of commissions that are thematically divided. And sorry, I got that wrong. They're part of divisions which are thematically divided. These in turn belong to commissions.
Right.
So with all of this, we have, for instance, someone from a working group on diversity. We have those. Might put forward a goal that we need to start putting out translations. And this can lead to a decision that the IAU is going to create centers for translation in astronomy. And that's the kind of thing that did happen. I don't think it came out of a working group for inclusion because I think that we had a chicken and the egg problem there.
Right. But like right now, are the topics that are going to be discussed at the 2021 meeting being defined and hashed out right now? Are they building the schedule already? Or does that come together a little more close to the actual event?
Many of these things come out more close to the event because astronomers are humans, which means we procrastinate. So at this point in time, we're working to make sure we have locations, we have working rooms, we have all of the big picture ideas. Thoughts are being made on, I have this thing I should consider doing. But this early in the triennium, we're really working on figuring out, okay, how do we complete this next 3 years sets of goals? So for instance, I belong to the working group for the Communicating Astronomy to the Public conference, and we're working on planning our next conference, which is probably going to be next year. I think it's next year in Australia. There are other working groups that are working on, well, everyone is waiting for new sets of names to come out from the Minor Planet Center, which is in many ways a child of the International Astronomical Union. So we're waiting for that new round of names to come out. There are initiatives going on to collect star names from different cultures and make sure that we have accurate catalogs that don't just say this galaxy is this HR number, it is this NGC number, but we also have catalogs that have a star's Hipparchus number, its Henry Draper number, and its name from Roman mythology, from Zulu mythology, from Incan mythology. We're working to collect all of these names, all of this culture of our shared sky before too much of it is lost to the passing of generations.
Right. Okay, and so then do you guys like vote electronically on which actual discussions are going to be had?
There is a variety of different ways that things take place. The commissions and divisions that I'm part of we do electronic voting within our organization for things like electing new officers. There are more spreadsheets for rating and reviewing proposals than you can shake a stick at.
Yeah.
I think Excel is the new way of ranking everything.
Right.
And then, of course, there's telecons, in which it's the if anyone disagrees, speak, and then you listen to the silence of no one unmuting their phones. So that takes place for the day to day activities. When it comes to the large decisions, it is generally you pass things up. So my group of humans might vote on something and then it gets passed up to the IAU Executive Council. And the Executive Council will then either vote on it at the national level or they will send it out to the entire membership. Now, in general, the national votes and the membership votes do take place every 3 years at the General Assembly. But sometimes there are problems that come up, there are questions that come up where we don't want to limit the voting to the people who are affluent enough and able to travel, because there are both issues of people who can't travel and people who can't afford to travel but would love to. And so, to make sure that our more potentially controversial decisions are made in a fair and equitable manner, those do get opened up electronically. We recently did an electronic vote to finalize the decision on the Hubble Lemaitre name change. And there was a initial get the flavor of the room vote that was done at the General Assembly prior to releasing and having everyone who was willing to go to their keyboard cast their vote from around the world.
And then at the actual conference, you then sort of deal with, like, you've got all of these provisional votes that are going to be had, and then everybody shows up and they go into their, they've got their various working groups, and then how do those actual votes come together?
It is the most old school thing I have ever participated in.
Yeah.
There are fabulous pictures that you can find all over the internet, and hopefully Susie will stick one up in our show notes. There are 2 business meetings during the International Astronomical Union meeting, and this is a 2-week meeting. There's 1 business meeting in each week, and the general membership votes occur in the second week. And the way they occur is you hold up your badge, which is a specific color if you are a full member, and it's a different color if you're not a full member. And you hold up your badge while you vote, and they will do, okay, abstentions up, okay, yeses up, okay, noes up. And they have a series of counters, individuals from around the world selected to walk around and physically count. So it's not the most high-tech thing I've ever participated in, but it's good enough for assembly work.
And definitely not a hidden vote. You can absolutely see who's voting for certain things. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So anyone who lied to you about how they voted for Pluto, there are photos, people.
There are photos
are
of them
photos.
deplaneting Pluto, and they're all getting a phone call from the Pluto fans. That's a great point. I wonder if they'll ever change that to be more of a hidden ballot. Now how is it just one vote and then everything just stands? Like, is there any chance to overturn a decision? I guess you have to wait for the next.
You have to wait at least 3 years. And this is one of those things where you start to realize that sometimes making it difficult to change things allows people to get used to an idea and for the culture to change. If there was a meeting every single year, I suspect that Pluto might have had the decision overturned, but giving it that 3 years let the global astronomical community somewhat settle into a consensus, because there was time to think through the decisions, to articulate the ideas, and to move on. And sometimes you need that.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think, there was a mountain of outrage. There's still a mountain of outrage. I mean, that is
That's
absolutely probably the most, No, I'm going to say that is absolutely the most controversial decision the IAU has ever made.
And I think everyone is unified in believing that the current definition of what a planet is actually a really bad definition,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's better than nothing. And yeah,
Yeah,
that's where we are.
what is it? Like all definitions are bad and this is just the least worst.
That is indeed the case.
Yeah.
That is indeed the
S-
case.
Um, well, so what are some ideas or some concerns that astronomers are thinking about now for upcoming meetings that maybe we should be aware of and sort of be prepared for? Can you
As
think of
strange
some?
as it may sound, and probably it's not strange to anyone who's been paying attention to Twitter lately, equity and inclusion and supporting a diversity of voices in astronomy is one of the continuing top topics for discussion. Other things just sort of chew along, gradually evolving with time, where we see slow and gradual refinement in our understanding of coordinate systems, the periodic nailing down of radio coordinates to optical coordinates. Slow and gradual change is how science is done. But social change often occurs in stair steps. And it is getting recognized more and more that the sometimes flagrant bias and sometimes the unconscious bias in decision makers across the world has led to, well, a very gray white community, even when it's an international community. And that is something that folks are working really hard to change. And when you couple the idea of we're going to use astronomy for development, we're going to recognize that when we start building telescopes in the darkest, most remote parts of the world, we're often also building telescopes in places that have almost no advantages, where running water, electricity, and internet are just not everyday occurrences. And we can leverage our telescope facilities to change communities. And then once we've made that change, it's not enough to just run high speed internet up to the observatory and wave at the local community and say, ha ha ha, we have internet, and you don't. You have to go into the community and make change. And then once you've done that, and you have that first child of color in the local community saying, hey, I want to do what they do up on the mountain. You have to make space for those people. You have to make them feel welcome. The fact that the University of Hawaii doesn't really have a growing population of Native Hawaiians going into astronomy, despite it being one of the best facilities in the world, says we're screwing up.
And
And
the skies.
acknowledging this.
I mean, anybody
Yeah,
growing up there has access to these amazing dark skies,
yeah,
wide open skies, and you would think that that would be a place that you would be, you would be more connected to the facilities. It would be and like we have a lot of hockey players here in Canada because we have a lot of snow and we have a lot of ice. Well, Hawaii's got a lot of telescopes, and so you would think that more Hawaiians would be able to be connected to that as a career, be part of that, and it's too bad, and you sort of see that again and again. I think you're exactly right. We've sort of reached the end of our time. So, was there anything?
I want to end by pointing out that for this 100th celebration of IAU, hashtag
That's yeah. So
100
what's
IAU,
happening? What's the party, man?
there there are global celebrations going on around the world with real world and virtual activities you can get involved in. One of the things that everyone needs to be paying attention to right now is it is Global Astronomy Month, run by Astronomers Without Borders. So go check out their website and find out how you can get involved in watching movies, being part of major events, and just celebrating that it is one world and one sky that we all, well, we happen to share. So get out and share the sky, people.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Pamela.
Wait, one more thing.
One more thing. Oh, yeah, names.
Names.
Yeah.
We have to read the names. So this is something that we are continuing to struggle to remember to do. You out there, all of you, you are what keeps us going. And we love the download numbers. The download numbers especially help make our advertisers happy, but we'd really like to get rid of our beloved advertisers.
Don't
So
tell them that.
while
No, no.
away luggage is going to be my favorite suitcase forever, um, I'd rather that we didn't have to add ads to our show. So to all of you that have already joined us on Patreon, you are our heroes. You are paying Susie's salary. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To the rest of you, please consider joining us at patreon.com/astronomycast. And I would like to thank by name a whole group of you. We are slowly working through a backlog of humans who need their names read. So for today's reading of the backlog, we have Cooper, we have Margot Robinson, we have Joshua Person, we have William Andrews, Jeremy Kerwin, Iggy Hammock, Matt Williams, Bart Flaherty, Dana Norrie, Dave Lackey, James Polly, Karen Spence, Chris Scherharfer, I'm going to go with,
I
and
just love
Jack.
listening. This is the best part, I think. I like to hear the names, and I like to hear you say the names.
So thank you all. Thank you. Just thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Stop. I will save.
Yep.
I will export. And
I
then
have
we
a
will take
douche.
7 minutes. Today's rant will be only 7 minutes long. There was actually a couple of questions that I saw came in, but
Cool.
all right.
So I have determined that the best possible use of military budget is to bomb asteroids for science.
Is sorry, what?
Is to bomb asteroids in the name of science.
It's a peaceful use for weaponry. It shows the asteroids who the boss is.
It's true.
Because asteroids bomb Earth all the time. They're doing it right now.
Yes.
Yeah, and so like just
it's
so they
time
know,
we strike back.
Yeah, we can strike back asteroids. Just, we're not going to take it forever. All right. There we go. Arjone asks, is there a place where people and journalists can find the correct definitions for certain things? Yeah, the IAU website, right? Gives you the rules.
You can dig through the IAU website. It is iau.org.
So there's a bit of an argument over in the chat. So let me just try one last time. Le Maitre. Le Maitre. Say it with me.
La Maitre?
Le Maitre.
La Maitre.
Yeah. There you go. It got ugly. Everyone should hug it out. Speaking of hugging things out. Man.
Everyone needs a failure mode.
John Drake is asking, how many astronomers are there? Good question.
Globally, there's probably just under 20,000 people alive who have been what you would call a professional astronomer at some point in their career. Now, that isn't to say that there aren't a large number of them that are retired or
Right.
emeritus Apollo babies.
Right.
That there aren't a large number of them that are people who did the postdoc thing until they realized they wanted to have a grown-up salary and fled to high tech.
So about 2/3 of astronomers are members of the IAU.
Yeah.
Could I be a member of the IAU?
You could be what's called an associate member.
Right.
And associate members are people that are contributing in meaningful ways that further the purposes of the IAU, but aren't PhD astronomers who've been nominated and put forward by their individual nations. It's the different nations that approve their nation's astronomers.
Right. So they would be glad to take my money, is what you're saying.
No. It's free.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's you have to demonstrate that that you have earned that
Got
right.
it.
It is strictly a meritocracy
All right. If
with
you
all of the biases inherent
if
in
you
that.
did move to Canada, would you still remain as a member of the U.S. group, or could you become a member of the
Yes.
Canadian group?
No, it's the US is stuck paying my dues forever.
Okay. Oh, and that's great that they pay your dues. Well, who pays
Mhm.
their dues? The government? Who gives the money to the IAU or
I
to the
believe in
their?
the US, it comes from the American Astronomical Society.
Oh, okay, and they pay their due. So you pay your
Yeah.
dues to the AAS, and then they pay their dues to the
Mm.
IAU.
So I don't have to be a member of the AAS to be a member of the IAU,
Right.
but each nation has a governing body that is the representative to the IAU.
Well, yeah, I got. I don't know if I showed you this last. From I did a. I don't know if I showed you this. I gave the Peter Sim memorial lecture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, this is how I get my official membership into the IAU, because I am Dr. Fraser Cain. So says the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada.
Which I think is awesome.
That's how it works.
Yep.
Grant Lanning asks if we saw Cody's Lab's video about thoughts on terraforming Mars. I have not,
Mm-mm.
but I can't wait. One thing that's super cool, I don't know if you've seen, the Germans just did an experiment on the International Space Station where they tested. They have an instrument on board where they test various microbes in little capsules that simulate different conditions, including the vacuum of space, the surface of the moon, the surface of Mars, various places. And they found that there are life forms that are good to go on Mars. They are ready. They're like, just send me in. Let's do it.
Yeah. And we knew that was true.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like, they're not
but yeah.
hibernating. They're ready to thrive on Mars.
Yeah. And that was part of the premise of Kim Stanley Robinson's Red Mars series. Just the idea that there are lichens that could very easily adapt to the Martian environment
Yeah.
is kind of awesome.
Yeah, there would be a Canadian Astronomy Union. I don't know what they're
It's the
called.
CADC. Wait, no, sorry, that's the data centers. It is the RASC, the
Well,
Royal Astronomical Society of Canada.
yeah, which was who I spoke for. But isn't there a double AS, or is that the same thing?
Oh, CASCA,
Yeah,
the
Casca.
Canadian. I don't remember what the initials stand for.
I'm
There's
just
CASCA.
yeah, the Canadian Astronomical Society.
Okay.
Yeah, so same thing. There you go. I think we've reached the end of our time.
Okay, then.
Well, here,
So,
one last one. Roach Kai says, "Would it be a reasonable idea for me to pursue an academic astronomy career at age 28? Is there any sort of age barrier?"
there isn't so much an age barrier as there. It's going to put you so far behind in saving for retirement. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
What I actually recommend, because there is such a strong fail out rate. Of the 15 of us that started my PhD program in astronomy, there were people who were older. The program I was in at the University of Texas, pretty much every incoming class had one person who was in their late 30s, early 40s. But once you finish your PhD, and from bachelor's to PhD is generally 10 years or more. So once you're done with all of that, you have to start the how do I find a job now part. And often it requires you to take 3 or 4 different 2-year jobs at different places scattered around the planet, not
Yeah.
just the nation. If you have an undergraduate degree in a STEM field, especially computer science, there are jobs for you open now.
Right.
And in some cases, they pay way, way better than postdocs do. So figure out if your current degree will allow you to work in space science. I spend most of my time writing software.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think so the first thing is that anybody with a PhD astronomy degree or PhD physics, is guaranteed. The unemployment rate of those people is zero. So
Yeah,
you will
we just
have a
aren't all
job.
working in astronomy.
But right. So then the question is, do you want to work being a professional astronomer? And then in that case, it is the Thunderdome. There are hundreds of astronomers battling for individual positions. So you have your work cut out for you if what you are absolutely certain that you want to do is become a professional astronomer. If you want to learn astronomy, then no matter what happens, you can come up with a job. Pamela's right. Computer programming, so much of astronomy is computers today. So these are ways that you can make yourself more interesting and attractive to the research groups that are looking for astronomers. This is going to turn more and more. If you walk out with an AI degree
Oh
and
my gosh,
astronomy,
machine learning. If you're a
yeah,
machine learning person,
yeah. And but
yeah,
there, but then if you know those skills, you can make your way into those groups without necessarily having gone deeply into the astronomy and the physics, because really it's
right.
all about computers these days. But if you just love astronomy and you want to do some astronomy today, that's why CosmoQuest exists, right? That you
Yeah.
can go and participate in that kind of work. And that has always been our goal, is to try and help people sort of participate in astronomy as much as they can and want to, and then there's all kinds of amateur work that you can do. Get yourself a telescope, join the variable star observers. You can confirm exoplanets, you can confirm planets with micro lensing. Like, there's a ton of work that you can do that that you can get into it right now today. So I would take like a year and deep dive into one of those things and just make sure that that's what you want to do before you go down that route, because it is, you walk out the other side with a very great degree, but you don't necessarily get to be a professional astronomer unless you're willing to climb up the bones of the people you've defeated in ritual combat in the Astrodome. So, but just do it. Go
Yeah.
chase your dreams. Do fun things.
And I mean, part of the reason I bring up the whole see if you can do it with your existing degree is if this is your passion, why put yourself through another 10 years of university where most of the time is going to be spent studying things that are ancillary to your degree? I know I was required to take 2 semesters of foreign language, uh, US history, a whole lot of classes that I don't regret taking, but I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
So I was still figuring out who I was. If you
Yeah.
know who you are, if you know who you want to be, go chase that
Yeah.
now and see if you can do it now.
Yeah. 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 And so, like, there are tremendous opportunities to get involved today. So definitely do it. All right, we should wrap things up. Just to let people know, I will be interviewing Brian Keating, the author of Losing the Nobel Prize, on Monday. We're going to be talking about his involvement with the BICEP 2 experiment, the discovery of primordial gravitational waves, and how it all went horribly wrong. So I think you'll enjoy that. That'll be on my channel on Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific on my open space live stream. So you'll be able to ask him all your questions about the search for primordial gravitational waves. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Pamela. Thanks to our moderators. Thanks to everyone watching the show, everyone asking us questions. So much fun. We'll see you all next week.
Bye bye, everyone.